Apparently, Kodak Black is another one.
We're live. Go ahead.
We are live, coming right at you.
Yeah, we are live. We had a robust off-brand, camera discussion. It got kind of heated there. But we're back again. Get us in mind, episode 36. We are kicking it live. So this week has been an interesting week. This week we had the January 6th impeachment hearings. They finally got started. They had a big, huge primetime discussion last night about the January 6th event or insurrection. And I saw, I got to see it that night, but I saw like pieces of it and I watched the whole, like the 11-minute video that they made. And it's interesting in watching it, at least it's from how I look at it, is that how it, like how you see like how, like in watching it, I was like, you see what those Capitol officers were against. Yo, it was thousands of people. It wasn't, you think, okay, when in watching it, I only saw people going into the, at the front of the gate and then going into the rotunda and then the Capitol building. But the other video, like I said, some guy was embedded with the Proud Boys that was recorded as well.
The filmmaker
and you can see him filming from inside of the White House, inside the Capitol building out, and you see like, I mean, rows of people, like thousands of people just pushing and what's called the flag. It really made me think of in a weird way. It really made me think of how lynchings go, just that complete mob mentality. You see it with the Trump flags, and I was like, yo, this is just it's hard to believe. It's funny in seeing this how you think of Watergate. This is it's going to go down like Watergate. You think of the Watergate hearings, and that's going to get this big thing. And Watergate was kind of a small break-in. This was like, when you look at the whole totality of it, this is was pretty serious. I mean, think about what could have happened. Well, let's say that they had encountered Nancy Pelosi, because one thing I noticed that they had all those people that were there, and then they had about, I don't know how many Capitol guards they had, police officers they had. There were, I don't know how many they had, but let's say 100 maybe. Still not enough. They were just overwhelmed. And could you imagine what happened if they say they had found, if they had caught Nancy Pelosi walking the hallway, or they got Mike Pence? Do you imagine that? It was interesting. It's interesting to see what's going on. So anyone else see anything or any comments about it? The insurrection hearings.
I missed the entire thing, so this is like the closest thing I'm getting to an update.
I watched mostly the whole thing. I think I missed the first 15 minutes of it. I think that first of all, I'm just gonna start out. I think nothing will come of this. I saw what the Democrats were trying to do. Like Todd said, it was very interesting. The timeline was very helpful to see how can I say it? How close, like, there's the democracy or the peaceful transition of power was almost interrupted and what's the word I'm looking for? Negated. Negated, because it was delayed. It was delayed, but how close they actually got the size of the mob, because that's what it was. It was interesting to see the optics of the folks in the hearing and how I think the Democrats was going after different bases with the Black congressman from Mississippi leading it. It was interesting. Liz Cheney, she did very well. She presented well. The Capitol Police officer, the lady, the blonde hair and the blue eyes, and going through the film producer, like it, and like with the officer testimony, how she presented the officers the the not adequately armed officers trying to defend the Capitol, defend themselves against thousands,
Yeah, yeah.
thousands
Watching
of
that was
people, and
scary,
how just
man.
inadequately prepared they were. And I don't. It was, how can I say it? I'm just amazed that, for to use a military term, that officers just didn't cut and run, because it was just crazy. It
Yeah,
was it wa- it was bananas. You got hundreds. You're in front of a bike gate, and there's hundreds of people pushing on the gate, and it's three of you. Like, it's just insane.
it,
And they're
it
yelling at you. They like cussing, fussing, spitting, and then they got sprayed with not pepper spray, but probably some sort of
bear
chemical
spray.
yeah, some sort of chemical compound. Just crazy.
If
Damn.
you just looking at the video of it, I mean, just the numbers of people, and I mean, they all weren't going in there, but I mean, just think about that. It's you and maybe 20 officers against 1,000 people pushing and yelling, and in looking at the timelines, you watch the video, they have like a timeline of the time what happened, like at 1 o'clock, at 1:37, whatever times happened,
And
and you think
and
about
they tell you where, like, the masses of the crowd are. They enter here, they get to this
right.
point at this time. This is where the Congress people are. They breach here, then they breached on this other side. Like, it was interesting.
Could you imagine what happened if they had got some hold of a senator, or it doesn't say Nancy Pelosi. So I'm using her as an example, but or Mike Pence. I mean, think about that. What would have happened?
You would still
How,
have deniers.
I mean, what do you think that crowd would have done?
Well,
And
To be perfectly fair, the fake, what is it, a stockade? Is that what they're called? That was supposed to be an art display, and the rope they could have used wouldn't have been success. It was too loose. It wasn't strong enough for that sort of thing. The problem is those fuckers damn sure would have tried.
yeah, I don't even think I don't even think I don't even think a hanging power. Let's just say they had grabbed them. Could you imagine them or Nancy Pelosi grabbing them and holding her in custody with zip ties? You know, could you imagine the optics of that? How that would look to the world?
no, well,
Seeing
no,
It would end Trump. That would be the only good thing that would come out of it. That
I don't think. I doubt it.
but at what cost? At what cost?
no. I mean, has
You're
anybody?
damaging. You're damaging.
No,
You know,
I don't know.
you're
People.
damaging the part of the machinery that makes things go. You know what I mean? I think yeah, Trump would
That
probably go
machinery
down.
doesn't help me. Fuck that machinery. You got to
No, but no.
understand.
Okay,
My worldview is correct.
let
Everyone
me let
else's
me
is
put it
wrong.
to you this way. Let me just say this. I can't think of a scene in my lifetime, not in this country, not in any let's just say European country, not even in like China, Russia, that a major world power where a mob of folks got that close to disrupt the government. And just think about this. Like, if we were in the Cold War, like in the 40s and 50s, and you had Russian um uh like sleeper agents or cells in here, and they could have gotten that mob. It's possible that, like, our country could, a real coup could have happened if there was somebody that had real training and a real coordinated effort and plan backed by a foreign power. Like, they could have done some damage. They could have done some damage.
Yeah, it was
They were
really,
close. They were close.
it was really, and even I remember the day it happened. I think you texted me, Aaron, and I was like, oh, it's not that serious. It's just these people just being
I
pissed
didn't
off.
think it was gonna be that
I
serious.
really and I really didn't, and it's like one of those things that the more you see, the more you realize, this thing was,
I mean,
and they were and this is planned. They had plans. They were coy about it. They were like, something's big's gonna
yeah,
happen.
but no, I mean,
You know?
like, just think about it. If, let's just say, like there was Russian like sleeper cells or agents, and we've seen the pictures of in the halls of Congress with the servicemen with their firearms pointed at the barricaded door, this, that, and the other. um a foreign power, they wouldn't have cared. They would have got in, like you said, they would have had them with zip ties, this, that, and the other. They could have held them
Yeah.
hostage. Like, where, like, this is crazy that somebody could get that far and there was no response. They left them out to dry. No tanks, no helicopters, nothing to disperse the crowd, and how it lasted hours.
Yeah,
Like,
it was there a while, too.
that's insane.
You
That's
know,
insane.
and to think about it, okay, let's say, let's scenario. They find Mike Pence, right? They catch him in the hallway of it, whatever. They zip tie him and they take him to the
Gallows.
to the gallows. They say take him to, they're gonna put him on trial, right? And
No, they had the thing to hang them.
yeah, I know. Let's use Pelosi, and let's say, okay, the Capitol Police let these guys in, and also they've got a sitting
tribunal.
They're gonna do a trial there, impromptu trial, and the police go and rush in and wind up and winds up becoming a hostage situation. Shooting and becomes a shootout. That could have easily happened too. And you just think of the how many ways this could have went so much wronger. You know what I mean? It could have went so much crazy. Who's to say that no one there didn't have a gun? What if someone had a gun?
They did. Some of them
No,
didn't use them, but they brought guns and explosive zip ties,
Yeah.
body armor.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of shit.
Could you
We're really
imagine
lucky it didn't
standoff?
get any worse.
Right. That, to me, that's the part that really that stands out. It's like, okay, yeah, you had some yahoos that took over office, and they did Yahoo stupid shit, and no one was really, obviously outside of the officers that died and the one person, but it wasn't a huge number of lives lost. But it could have really been that way. Say they
No, we
really
look like a
had put their
third
minds
world
to it.
country.
I
We
know,
look
of
like a
course,
third world country.
Yeah, we
on
look
that day.
we look
There
Bush
are
League.
Americans who are effectively, they are living in a third world country. Are there
No,
kind of
what I meant by that is that it made it look like we have the presentation that our government is so stable.
Yep.
And we have all these redundant systems. Like, if something were to happen, like blah blah blah, and then we have this mob of people move on, and this is the response, and they get this close to in the halls of the seat of power of actual government, and they're looking at servicemen with their weapons like less than 2 feet away, drawn on them, why congressmen and senators are huddled on the floor under furniture. Like, that's what I mean by third world country. Like, how the mob can just come and take over the government. I'm not talking about the conditions of the citizens living in I'm aware that we have people living in similar conditions, but poverty in America isn't poverty in those type of countries. It's a different level of poverty.
It shouldn't. Poverty, I'd say poverty in our country should not be as bad as it is. That's actually the thing that kind of gets me about it. Because truth be told, I don't think we're all that different as human beings. Maybe situated differently, different access to shit. But it's kind of like, it shouldn't be this bad here in America, and yet here we are.
No,
I'm assuming
I'm
later
not
on we're
saying
going to
that
talk about
it's
all the mass shootings as well. But the problems we're having, we really should not be having, and yet.
Well, it goes back to where the levels of how we allocate resources and how we run things, the level of inequalities that we allow that this country allows to be tolerated.
That reminds me. There's an aspect of this I always try to keep in mind, more so than what happens. Like, I always find it's amazing how some people have this amazing capacity for change. What's equally amazing is how much people don't. If this was not the straw to break some camel's backs, I don't think anything is. I've actually heard it expressed a few times. I think there are a few Americans that would love to live in an authoritarian state with just the person they have in power or the person they idealize as running things. And even with all the shit with COVID, I had another major takeaway. There are some people that would rather die than change, or to be real, they'd rather kill than change.
it's a fact. I think it's a symptom of our country. I think many people in this country value individual freedom more than collective freedom. You know, as I said before, it's like as long as I can have my guns and I can do what I want to do and what I want to do, doesn't matter if it bothers you or not. Doesn't matter. It's my freedom. I can kick my feet up on the table, and if it hits you in the head, tough. Move your head. Find another seat. You're not making enough money. I'm making plenty of money. It's one of the byproducts of capitalism. You know.
Todd, I have a quote for that. There's a legal term. I don't remember who said it, but your rights to swing your fist end at my face. I used it in one of my research papers. I forgot which founding father said that, but that's the actual limit of what the limit should be. You can have all the freedom you want. The limit is when your freedoms are encroaching on my rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, all that other good shit. Also, seriously, you're setting up some good segues to go into to all the other mass shooting shit. I don't know if it's that time or not, or we can keep talking about January 6th.
We kind of we went way into it last week, but we can if you want to if you have some
I don't have
opinion
anything
on it, you
else
can.
on the
Yeah,
hearing.
I'm kind of done. You have any opinions about January 6th last year?
About January 6th?
Yeah,
Yeah, the hearings.
Yeah,
hearings.
I don't think the hearings are going to do anything really, and I guess that's my overall disappointment, kind of in the Democrats over the last few years.
Yeah,
Is that it's a lot of talk, it's a lot of I hate to say whining, but that's really what it is. Where Trump's doing this, Trump's doing that, and it's not right, and it's blah blah, but nothing ever happens, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's just a
not
waste of
resulting
time.
in
Really.
getting more votes.
Les,
That's the problem.
let me ask you, what do you think they should do? Should they just forget about it? Just do nothing about it? Just it happened.
No,
Just move
But
on.
what's
put it
what's
this.
the purpose of these hearings?
Okay,
Is it going to lead to what?
Can I respond to that one?
Go
What's
ahead,
the
go ahead.
purpose?
I was just going to say the big problem is a lot of the ways we keep presenting our arguments is, do you see what's happening? You should start supporting us because this is the type of shit we're not doing. The problem is the amount of Democrats we have or the seats we have, the numbers are fluctuating, but not a lot. Because ideally, you should be able to make a logical argument. People should make a logical response. Be like, oh, wow, I'm going to go with these guys because the other guys are fucking fascists. That's not what's happening. What's actually happening is people are digging in their heels more, sticking to their side more, to the point where the people we're trying to convince are not listening. They wrote this thing off before the TV shit.
You realize
They
that
haven't listened for 4 years.
we were just
that's nothing.
No. This is
here's
the
my
issue.
point.
This is America.
Here's my point. You were asking us what what's going to happen. I don't think anything's going to happen either. I don't think Trump's going to be arrested. That's not thinking. If you think in that case, they probably are going to get some people and what you call it. But I do think this needs to be done as a matter of public record. You can't just let this thing slide. Just be like, oh, it happened tough. It's just it's just one of those things. You have to at least go through the motions of of at least going through the process of this. You know what I mean? So it's public record. So this happened. So how many years on the road that we've known that this happened? Do I think it is coming? Probably not. Probably not. The people who are highly involved are removed from it. They're not gonna indict a past president for something like that. But I do think
Why?
I do think
No, this is the issue.
this needs to be done to really look at the whole picture. You know what I'm saying? So you investigate everything that happened and everything can be shown in the light. Even if it's just this case. Go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
No. This is my answer for the question that Les asked. What's going to happen? And like, what's the Democrats' response to this? This is the problem. Everything is seen through a political lens. So these events happen, and instead of saying like, this is right, this is what we have the power to do to try to prevent this, to stop this, and to let people know that is wrong and that this government is stable and that we have control, they say, how can we spin this event to our political agenda? And that's what they're doing. That's how they, like, we just had the hearing. Like they gave us a little bit of new information. They put together a video on a timeline. They showed this to us. They had some people. They had the Capitol Police officer come up and present. They had the guy that's embedded with the Proud Boys. come up and present so that they can have a villain for the midterm elections, and then they said we're gonna reconvene in 6 weeks. So that's gonna put it to what, mid-July, and then they're gonna reconvene probably in another 4 to 6 weeks, inching closer to the election. But as we know how the news media and the news cycle, 6 weeks between seeing this and giving the folks who just see this, well, it was just a peaceful protest. By the time you show new stuff in 6 weeks, they're going to have sanitized this to their base, sanitized this to independents, potential independents that lean their way. That's how come nothing is going to happen, because they're not treating it as a criminal conduct and a purely legal matter and going about it that way. They're leveraging it for a political agenda, and that's why nothing's going to happen. And people see that, and people get disgusted from that. Like nobody. No. What I'm saying is, everybody who saw that, and I know I have conservative friends of all creeds, color, and races. The next day, talking with it, everybody had a visceral response to it. We want to have law and order. We want to have stability. Nobody ever wanted to see our capital under siege like that, and then to see how the political spin just occurred and how it was going to be used. Like, you disenfranchise people to the whole process of law and order and stability and the ability of government to govern its populace.
Rod, there's another factor in this. The burden of proof for, say, like, the burden of proof to go from the criminal investigation is so damn high. There's not an actual sure win that, like, you'd actually win. That's the other problem with a lot of this. This is kind of why every time there's an impeachment, it's a political impeachment.
More
not
extreme,
necessarily
no,
criminal.
More extreme event with external folks that committed it. The Twin Towers. September 11th. The country, we got to find out who did it. We're going to have an action. They did what they needed to do to make people feel secure. I'm not saying that they
politically, or like from a criminal justice standpoint.
No, what I'm saying is, okay, we got to gather, we got to do intelligence. We got intelligence, even though they found out the Saudis, it was being like the different terrorist groups in these countries. We went in and we invaded Iraq. Like, they made people feel like we were doing something to get the perpetrators of the crime for stability. It was bipartisanship. It was even though it was a subset of people, in my opinion, that had a different agenda, the government seemed to be performing as a government to make the American people feel safe and secure. That didn't happen in this situation.
There was more of a consensus. And let's be honest, one of the best ways to get anything done is kind of blaming one group of people and playing them against each other. A lot of politics works that way. The problem is, in this situation, it's only made us be divided against ourselves. Insert quote about
that it should have been. I mean, the seats of, I don't care which parties, if it's beyond Democrats, Republicans, if there were other parties, when a mob of folks run up on the capital of the nation and do what happened, that should have been unified for all the different parties to say that this should not happen in this country. And to see the political spin that happened afterwards, it's just
kind of happened. I'm sure there were Republicans that were on the fence. They're like, yeah, never again.
But there's two. There's two
after that.
So that's my reason why I'm I won't say glad, but I think something like this needs to be done. It needs to be sort of exposed. I think if you just, again, if I go, oh well, nothing's gonna happen, let's just leave it. Let's just forget about it. You're emboldening these people to do it again.
Exactly. That's the point.
I think at the very least, if
What's their incentive not to do it?
Have their lives ruined like you're doing these like you're doing these
Let's go
yahoos
back
now.
to September 11th. Like somebody had to catch the smoke because America was hit. America had to send a message to the world: don't do this shit no more. Excuse my language. And we did that. And I'm not saying what we did and how we did it was right, but the message was sent to the rest of the world.
Right. But as far as the message,
I mean, for
being
20
sent,
years we fucked Afghanistan. So
didn't people already?
No,
get
I'm just
arrested?
talking about like what we did to Afghanistan, and that stuff was on prime time. The bombing, everybody in the world saw that. America's mad. This is what they can do.
Right. But
I
Everybody
still
saw
keep
it.
feeling like even some of
But
those military actions are.
Let's get
Yeah,
some
go ahead, Les.
but these hearings aren't really accomplishing anything. I guess that's my point. Because
Exactly.
people already got arrested.
So again,
Well, this is kind of the problem, Les.
what would you? So do you think they should do anything more about it? They should have any kind of hearings on this?
So, but what's the hearing? I don't understand. The hearing
to me,
isn't
political.
necessarily.
These are political. It's for political. It's for political records. Same thing that happened in with Watergate. You know, the Watergate
Yeah,
hearings.
Watergate wasn't actually criminal; it was political.
So I mean, yeah, I'm in agreement that I don't think much is going to happen, but I do think I do think that this is big enough of an incident for it to at least to have for it to happen. You know, for us to have this sort of process to go through. You know, I think it needs to happen. You know, I mean, hey, we just saw 6 weeks of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. We can watch 3 weeks of this too. I think this is more important.
No, well, yeah,
Also,
well,
Les,
wait,
in
hold on a
terms of,
second. Let me. Yeah, that brings up a good point. The leader of the Proud Boys, Terrio, was any of his court hearings and that stuff broadcast on any network TV, that when it was actually happening in real time, like celebrity stuff, like a divorce hearing, a famous
making
black
a distinction
athlete.
in
No,
between
wait. A
civil
famous
and
black
criminal.
athlete gets accused of murdering his wife viciously, and that's on across the nation on independent TV stations, on network TV stations, gavel to gavel coverage. But somebody can have a group.
Lawyers or press can request whether they want it broadcasted or not.
No, but what I'm saying is, for the sake of the country, like we will broadcast sensationalized stuff, but you have somebody that's a major player in this mob that tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power, and they're not putting that on, forcing it on the masses to see. Like,
Rod, you know, you're talking about multiple different jurisdictions and multiple different media outlets.
no,
They can request whether it becomes public record, or the district attorney in that place can request it. The Amber Heard case.
no, I'm
was
saying
a
if
civil
somebody
case, not
does this
criminal.
to America, it should be all Americans should see the process from beginning to end to what happens to the alleged perpetrators. But
I would talk to that district attorney then.
no, it's not about so for like for OJ, like who care? I don't need to see Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Like
Civil
what?
case.
Like I'm not interested. I didn't watch any of that. That holds no meaning. But prosecuting people connected to organized activity to to stop the peaceful transfer of power. That's a civics lessons for all Americans, and that should have been presented to
Then
all
I should
Americans.
tell you that most of the court cases that go on actually get recorded, and you can watch them on YouTube. You're gonna do that
I'm
for most
saying
cases
that
in the state of
Amber
Connecticut.
Heard and them were on live. OJ was live every day, gavel to gavel coverage. Anybody could watch it across America. That's what I'm saying, Aaron. And that's for insignificant things compared to this.
There is a small discrepancy in between what we watch and what we pay attention to, because of that's what we
No, I'm
personally
not talking
value.
about I'm not talking about, I'm saying there are certain things that the court system and the media force upon us by everybody covering it, and there's no way to get around it. If you were, I don't know how old you were when OJ happened, that crap was on every day, all day. Every major news thing had recaps, snippets. It was Can you? It was too much. It was too much, but it was available. How is that case more important for the American public? Because everybody in America had the opportunity to view that, multiple opportunities on multiple networks. And
Judge discretion, district attorney's discretion, and some of this stuff it's just whether the media picks it up or starts running the story. That's media discretion. The media
I
does
beg to
not
differ.
always take every story. There
Oh,
are,
so you don't think
I think they pick and choose. They pick and choose on which stories are going to generate the most buzz and get the most
well,
attention.
even if they had the opportunity, we know MSNBC, the broadcast networks on their streaming services or on their cable news networks would have had it on if they had the opportunity. It was not there. The
And
capital, the peaceful transfer of power of the nation, not civil stuff, not individual citizens murdering stuff, that people that are famous, that that gets broadcast for American people to consume, not something that's so vital to the country's very existence. Like, that's just stupid. And you
it
can't,
kind of
like,
feels like a chastisement of what Americans feel is important versus what we should find important. Obviously, we should find the things you're talking about more important. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes certain stories or certain reactions generate all the news stories and others don't. This also is a big determining factor what the news chooses to preside and what they don't. If a district
no, but
attorney
the
feels
thing
like
is,
it's in public best interest to let the media in,
no,
they
but
do. Or if the judge
politics
doesn't.
politics happen. They don't want us. They don't want us to know. They stop teaching citizenship. They don't really want us to know how the government runs. They want everything just to be political opinion, and for somebody on a screen to give us
Can I counter
their
that a little bit?
synopsis. No, they want them to give us their synopsis and hot take. We had citizenship classes in in middle school, and I don't know if you had middle school or junior high. When I was a child, you had to pass citizenship. You had to take the class, and it described the different governments, how they function, what was their role, and blah blah blah. You had to
Covered a
learn.
lot of this stuff in social studies.
Yeah,
Um,
it was
and I
government
graduated high
everything.
school in
No,
2008.
I'm saying it was a specific course on citizenship, not covered in social studies on a unit.
I think I had like American government it's talked about. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
like it's
I remember I actually took a citizenship test for one of our
you
class
had to
assignments
pass
and
it
took it with
to
my
be
classmates.
promoted to the next grade.
Most of my classmates couldn't pass our citizenship test. This is like a test I had brought in, I'd found online. And I don't know how accurate it was, but I was like, me and like one of my friends passed it and no one else did.
No, they gave
I
they
would
gave that
say,
test in my citizenship class.
Mhm. Actually, I would still say from what I'm hearing from my friends who are from other countries, the citizenship test is still bullshit hard and not easy to pass. In regards to
But
say
that's the
them taking it out or
I'm
not
not focused
accessing
on
it,
the test. I'm focused on the content of people having some being taught and having some basic understanding of how our government is supposed to operate. Now we don't know. We wait for
I
pundits to give their political spin that is
this is
supporting
the
their political
chastisement of the
agenda.
way people are. I get
No,
it. I
it's
agree.
not the way people are. People don't make decisions for what's in a curriculum and what's not in a curriculum.
College Colleges to a certain extent, we either vote for the electors that do this. Remember, with all the shit that was going on with say, you no longer have to teach about civil rights, over exaggeration, but for the most part, you don't have to, there's no requirement to teach about Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement, Black Lives Matter in Texas, unless the school board specifically in the individual districts has to do it. It used to be a requirement and no longer is. This was something passed by electors that kept winning re-elections. Some of the negative change and aspects we're seeing in our society is what society
Yeah, but that
wants.
doesn't mean that everybody in Texas agree with it because the electors do. That
Then
just
they
means they
need
had
to
the
start fighting
preponderance. They had
harder.
more than
I
50. No, that means that they have more than 51%. So that doesn't mean that people don't want it. They're going to be teaching. What
this
is
act
it?
you're actually
Uh,
going into what Les's point was about what is all this actually matter. What, as far as I'm concerned, with all of it, the shootings, January 6th, what's being taught in our schools, our reaction to all this, my reaction has kind of been none of this matters unless it prompts a change in the people that have to change. And the problem I keep seeing is the one thing a lot of Americans are very keenly to not do in the face of adversity, situations, life, circumstances is they don't want to change. They want to double down. I fucking hate that most of our news comes from talking heads where it's more opinion than fact-based. You know, it's more annoying than that, the fact that people eat it up. There are some people who haven't been taught critical thinking skills because school hasn't required it of them. There are others that are willfully ignorant because it's willful ignorance.
Mhm.
Some of that's us.
So
I think that's good.
no, I was gonna say I want to try and wrap it up. But I know you want to talk about sort of you didn't get a chance to talk last week about the gun situation, about Uvalde and were you when we talked about Buffalo?
I got him a few friends' faces where I've
So-
just flat out said it like this. Yes, I know you're scared of going to school now and all that other good stuff. Are you going to change the way you're going to vote? Because I can point to a bunch of different Democratic congressmen, senators, Chris Murphy, for instance, who's been leading the charge about doing some really basic common sense shit. I've been turning it on every one of my friends that have been mad or angry about the shooting or the way the police respond. I'm like, what is the fucking point if you're going to keep voting the same? That's the I'll give even Matthew McConaughey.
What, so let me
about it.
let's try and I want to get an idea. What things do you? So last we're talking, we're trying to my thing is thinking what things can be done to kind of lessen the likelihood of these things happening.
Ton. There's so much that can be done.
Well,
Number one, upping the age to be able to purchase a rifle, AR-15 or whatever, 221. You cannot convince me that these 18-year-old kids are going to be smart enough to figure out how to get a gun from the black market. Possible? Yes. Likely? No. What I keep thinking about it like this. If you go back from forth looking at some of these mass shootings and how these people fired guns, a few more barriers would also give the police more time to catch them. Because here's the other thing we don't talk about. We've stopped a lot of mass shootings. We have successfully found out when they were going to happen and stopped them. Some of it has just been people reporting, there was one in Atlanta.
No, I was gonna say you remind me. I was watching some show. I can't think what it was. It was some sort of cop show, and they were saying that as if you're pursuing criminals or you're trying to stop crime or stop a crime or an incident, you have to be on point 100% of the time. But the person who's out to do something, all they have to do is do it once. All they have to do is happen one time. So
yeah, that's from the wire.
Right? Is it from the wire? Yeah, we can
from
stop.
the wire.
We can stop.
Yeah,
we can stop
exactly.
10 shootings, but the one that gets through, you know what I mean? And it's
the trick there is, you do the comparative crime rates of different areas and you look at the precautions some states are taking and other states are just not. Access to good mental health services goes a long way. Or also just flat out closing the what is it called, the boyfriend loophole. Oh, this is fun. One of the ones in Texas was somebody who was in the military, gets charged with domestic violence. The military fails to investigate. He goes forward to kill a bunch of people in the church in Texas. This is the one where it's like the good guy with the gun, where he only really stopped him after he killed most of the people in the congregation.
You know what the thing I always hear when you hear people say, well, I'm a gun guy and I'm a good guy. What you call it? And yeah, that guy that incident. I don't know, where was it? Was it that guy that shot up some in Maryland or Virginia? Where was it? But he was a good guy until he
Maryland was
wasn't.
pretty recent.
Yeah, recently. But he was a good guy until he flipped out, so it's kind of hard to say. It's
a mental health
easy to say
assessment
that
every time you want to purchase another firearm, take a longer wait time to purchase any firearm. One of the last mass shootings, a person bought an AR-15 4 hours before he went to carry out a mass shooting. Longer wait time.
Who does the mental health assessment?
Mental health agencies, the one we have, increasing funding to them so they can more adequately do this.
Give teachers guns.
No, that is a terrible idea. There's no proof that it works.
So no. So is it going to be you're going to require? Are you going to wait? Hold on a second. You're going to require gun shows to have a mental health professional there to do assessments as they travel from state to state.
What do you mean?
A lot of people buy
Guns
Yeah,
and gun
no
high
more
shows.
capacity.
just buying guns
No,
at
no, 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 no.
the
I'm just saying a lot of people buy high capacity cartridges, rifles, assault rifles at traveling gun shows that go from that's interstate. So I'm saying,
up
are
the
you
reg-
gonna have
up the
no? Are you gonna
regulations
have a
on
mental
that.
health professional sitting in a booth doing assessments for everybody who wants to purchase one?
I would just say flat out, you're not buying them at these gun shows at
They
all.
are. They are.
I would close that loophole immediately then. Because one of the
that,
other
That's a
big problems
business.
is
That's a
that
that,
business.
that,
That's a
that, that,
business.
that
some
sounds
of the
that,
Chicago shootings,
that
this is
sounds
more
No, no, that's a
homicides
very
than
business.
actually.
That's a business, and
yeah. That
business people
sounds
are like,
that's very optimistic because
you're gonna out
the
lobby
gun lobby is
the
going to fight
NRA.
you. The gun lobby
Like I keep saying, at this point, I'm asking people, are you willing to change which party you're voting for? Or do you just not care
But
about all the mass
that
shootings?
doesn't like voting by itself. Voting is a component, but people vote, people get elected, and then lobbyists give them money to vote the way that they want to vote, and then they tend to vote the way that lobbyists want them to vote, not the way that their constituents want them to vote. So how do you fix that?
I think that's a little bit harder with Democrats. Not impossible,
No,
but
I
it's a
know,
lot harder.
not part. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Democrats get money from lobbyists to vote certain
They
ways, and
do.
they do.
I'm
No,
just
no, no, and
saying
they do. But how do you get
harder
rid of
for
for
Democrats.
any, not just for this issue, but how do you deal with
I'm
how
only talking about this
lobbyists?
issue.
No, no, no. I mean, lobbyists wasn't taught in my citizenships class. I had to learn about that as an adult. But how do you deal with the issue of lobbyists? It's a tangible reality for our current form of government that people vote, and the people who in our representational form of government, um, the people who vote in the government on their behalf necessarily don't vote in their constituent best interest. They vote on
You vote them out when they do this
no, but
type of
okay,
shit.
you vote them out, but that's a 2 to 4 year period where they're voting for the lobbyists, and then the next person gets in, and then the lobbyist gives them more money, and then they vote the way that the
Enjoy a good
lobbyists do.
4 years
I'm
with less
asking
mass
you,
shootings.
how do we deal with the lobbyists
I would
and
say
the lobbyists'
that's a
money?
more bigger part about a larger issue with our political system. That is something we need to address. It's
No, but
always
just what
been
I'm
an
saying is
issue.
just telling people to vote. Okay, you can vote, but that doesn't mean the person that you vote for is going to vote the way that you want them to vote, or they're going to vote the way that they campaigned on.
Then
We've had the
again,
discussion
you
about the
don't
current sitting
vote for
president,
them
and
again.
just
I,
just to say,
I
go through the current sitting president, go Google his plan for Black America, and go down the bullet list and see how much he's actually done off that list. And we voted at what, greater than, what is it, 80-90% for him,
Yeah, we
I
did.
would.
and
I'm
we'll
kind of
vote
really big on this
and we'll
idea
vote
of not always
again.
voting for the same person twice. If someone's not doing a job I like, I tend to vote differently.
No, but
I
I'm
can be
just
flipped. I
saying,
make it a point to be able and accessible to be flipped.
vote them out. He's still sitting. He will be sitting. He's still not going to do anything on that list. It is what it is. Then what? Telling people to vote and then
Rod, you're
them
going
be
so far in the big picture. I don't want to get into this whole diatribe on everything that's wrong in our political system when the
no,
issue
but
is
I'm
kind
not
of like
like,
right in
no,
front
but
of.
you're
I'm
proposing
saying we're talking about
a
fixing and
solution.
addressing the gun rights right now, and we have a party that actually wants to address these issues and have made proposals multiple times within the last decade that got fucking nowhere because Republicans didn't want to vote on it. This is
So
why,
wait,
again, my entire point
So
is,
so
so
yeah,
here's my other
you don't,
question.
no, but you don't think that,
I'm
okay?
not saying the lobbyist thing isn't an issue. I'm saying that's indicative of every problem in our
No,
political
but like,
sphere.
but no, but you like, what part of it is politicians are folks for hire. So let's just say the Democrats start winning elections, consistently winning elections, then the NRA is going to start donating. They're going to find the members of the Democratic Party that support them
We
and
address
start
that
giving them money.
problem
No, no, no. Hold on a
in
second. They're going to start giving them money, and then they're going to be able to outcompete certain people. Other people in the party will say, "Well, damn, I need some of that NRA money," and then their agenda. We forget that the party that is against folks of our
you want to
community.
get all of the victory or some of the victory right now? Because I know you're
No,
very
it's
good
not.
at thinking about things long term. I'm talking about
It's
what we're
not, it's
doing
a
in the
not
next
all
this
or
election
some.
cycle.
You have to understand how the system works in its entirety to have any sort of systemic, long-lasting change. We've been going for the
So
short-term
we
interim stuff.
so how do you okay, so what's your gun fix on this with the NRA being this lobbyist group? Do we pass legislation to disband them or something? What's your plan of action? Because mine was,
It'll take a lot
supporting the
longer, and it's going. And my fix, it'll take a lot longer, and it would go for a systemic change. And just if I had a magic wand, I would get rid of lobbyists, and I would actually have I would make that shit illegal. But that's never going to happen. But
and
that's
also
one of the
not
things.
practical right now.
No. That's one of the things that I would do. And then people, politicians would have the opportunity to more represent their constituency, and there would be a more honest and open
So
dialogue
what do we
in
do
the
in the
halls.
interim?
And in
I
the
don't
hall,
disagree with you on any of that, Rod. What do we do in the interim? What do we do this election
Here's
cycle?
what I think. I think you got you have to think it in terms of steps. You're not going to get everything at once.
yep.
You're not going to stop.
There.
Raise the age for attaining
We're
weapons,
not
all these other things.
I
It's
don't
not going to
think we're
happen.
going to even get that much
That
with I know there are some Republicans that are in support of that. How many of them actually voted with the House on this one?
what
I know
I'm
it was mostly party lines.
they most
Well,
parties tend to vote along party lines. But what I'm saying is that I think that we're eventually going to make some headway. I think, but it's not going to be easy, and I don't think it's going to happen right
let
now.
me let me put it. Let me put it.
I think we're going to have to do with a lot more of these things, and I think more likely what's going to
We
happen is
already
that
have been dealing with a lot of these
we're going to do
Okay,
it, and we're
let me
going
put
to do
it.
it more. So what I'm saying is that it's not going to happen until it affects these people who are part and parcel with the
Yeah,
gun
it's gonna take a
lobby.
long time. It is.
Yeah,
And
their kids go to private school.
it may take another generation.
Let me
I
just say
think
this. Let me give an example. Let me give an analogy, and it'll use a political party.
Mhm.
So, Supreme Court, um, uh, Supreme Court has a case that makes basically abortion sort of a right to privacy. All women in America have the right to abortion. The Republicans systematically for decades chip away at it to the point where this month or the beginning of next month they're going to release the hearing that's basically overturning Roe versus Wade. It's no it's you got to play the long game, Aaron. You got to play the long game. And just telling people to vote. Yeah, Republicans did vote. They voted. They waited. They had their lobbyists. No. They had their lobbyists paid people to get the president in office. When it came time for Supreme Court justices, they got people aligned to
So,
them in those positions. So
in
the
practice,
same
you're just
thing.
saying, let's just wait
No, I'm
and
not saying
do.
no. It's not waiting. You have to play the long incremental game, and just telling people to vote. If you tell people to vote with the attention span that most people have now, they're going to say, "Well, I voted and it didn't change the next day or the next year. This, that, and the other. Why vote?"
Holding out.
You
But
got
this
to
is kind
teach
of like
people
the
that you got to
big,
play the long game for what you want in this system.
even the people with the short attention spans are going to play the long game.
Yes, this country. Our government is like a large cruise liner. You can't do sharp turns. You got to do slow. You got to turn slowly, big wide curves. But
Is this
we don't
kind of
have
is
the
this kind
no,
of
no,
what
no.
is
But
sadly happening? No, what you're actually saying is happening. I remember Chris Murphy saying it on the news recently that during the Newtown shooting, he couldn't get any Republicans to help out at all. Now there's them actually talking and taking more considerations.
That's
This
what I'm
is the slow
saying.
turn you're
well,
describing. So
I
That's
only
what's
think
actually
that's
going to happen is both of our ideas.
no.
People like me keep pushing this idea that it's time to change the way you vote and take more deep consideration. Like, yes, you're actually going to have to do something or notice which politicians aren't doing shit.
I
People
think it
get
would have
fed
been a
up enough
party line
about it.
vote
Super majority, and we actually start addressing the issues at the heart of it,
if
which is
this
the
event.
lobbyist issue more so than Republican stances on gun rights.
You know
No,
what,
no. Wait,
Aaron?
hold on a
Effectively, in
second. Hold on a
practice, that
second.
what
If
no,
this,
what I'm saying, what Roderick is saying is what is probably happening.
yeah.
It's just very slow.
But what
No,
all
I
right.
mean it's slow, but just think about this. If this event had happened in 2023 after after the midterm election, you wouldn't have had one Republican sign on. Like this is a critical thing. I think they're signing on because they want to make certain gains in this election. Like think about it. We had both. No, listen. We had what is it? What is it? Gifford from Arizona shot in the head.
Yeah.
Gabby Gifford. We had a Republican congressman shot in the head at a baseball game outside it. Also shot outside. Nothing changed. Even when their own members get assaulted, there was no change. There was voting along party lines. There was no
umbrage with those Republicans. I take more umbrage on the people that keep voting them in.
I just think that we saw some movement this year because it's an important election cycle, and they have gains to be made. So they want to appear like they want to get some of the independent votes so that they can have the gains. They want to be seen as some of us are doing something on this issue. But if this was 2023, it would have been no dice, and it's going to die in the Senate anyway. Mitch McConnell ain't letting that happen.
No, this is kind of what I'm saying, Rod. Is that so much of a bad thing that there are politicians who be like, oh no, this looks bad for me. I should probably.
No, I'm not just saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying they're going to play the political agenda. They're going to look at the opportunities, and even though it might look like movement, we will see long term. It's a short-term movement to get to a short-term point, but then they may course correct back to where they were once they achieve that short-term goal. So I'm saying in 2023, if there's another school shooting, then Chris Murphy proposes new, more stringent things.
Let's talk about the big one, the one that I think is actually going to pass. Upping the legal age of purchasing AR-15s, rifles and shit to 21 versus 18.
It might. You think Mitch McConnell is going to let that
pass? I
think that one's pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
whether it's reasonable or not, whether Mitch let it pass or not, it's up to Mitch.
Here's what I think. I think if this goes, if this is fresh, it's happened a couple weeks ago, so it's fresh people's minds. So yeah, if there's a vote to that, it might squeak by, because you have people in people's minds. But say it's going another month or two. Say it goes on 3 months. Think they're going to vote on it?
I'm saying if there was ever a time for them to envy this small bit,
not the Affordable Care Act.
To be very fair, the Parkland shooter turned 18, purchased the AR-15, killed a bunch of people. Uvalde shooter, I believe it was the same situation. There's more than two. There's more than two situations in between Texas and Florida.
This has been happening since the 80s, Aaron. These mass shootings have been happening.
It's been happening since the 60s.
No, there was
before that.
No, there's something else. Yes,
way before that.
Though. The idea was since 2005, when a lot of the gun restriction laws got changed around in Texas and Florida, the amount of mass shootings went up exponentially.
Yeah, that's because they had a assault weapons ban in the 90s, and they rescinded it. Yeah,
and that was mainly because what was it that the AK-47s, the Russian rifles, got into the hands of gangs, and that's why
my guess, I actually looked it up. I'm betting that might be part of the crime bill. That's what I'm thinking. I think what happened was that when they saw black kids with getting these
with assault rifles, we got rifles,
right?
Yeah, see,
we got to ban them now. You don't see as many.
And now these are the guns
it's a different story.
To kill their cops.
Right.
Fun fact about Texas. This is my favorite statistic about Texas. Worst state to be a cop in. Their death rate is abnormally high. There's a very easy argument to make that all these loose gun restrictions, the lack of a need of a permit, has just resulted in the death of multiple police officers. Favorite case of this,
but they feel safe. They feel safe. It's about.
I'm just saying, if you wanted to make the whole, I support our cops, then you support legislation that keeps firearms out of the hands of children.
No, when people say no. When they say they support the cops, they support the culture that they believe that the cops support and reinforce for them. That's what that means.
Yeah, it's just double talk. It's just double
I
talk.
don't.
But
I've met a lot of people who are just because they have family members that are cops. They are extra protective. My argument to them has always constantly been, make for sure they're not a cop in Texas then, or just flat out.
So you're just taking a person's livelihood away.
Pardon?
You're just taking a person's livelihood away. They shouldn't be a cop.
In Texas. Because
doesn't matter. No, so you live in Texas. Why I got to leave Texas? This is my livelihood. This is where I want to live. I want to
and
be a cop
enjoy
in
all
Texas.
the
That's my livelihood.
Because other fun fact, multiple Texas police chiefs, even when Greg Abbott was changing some of the gun restriction laws within the last 2-3 years, they were all saying, please do not fucking do that. For the love of God, please don't. I'm having trouble retaining officers as it is. They were all, literally all the chiefs actually worked together to be like, hey, don't do this. And they did it anyway.
Yeah, you think Greg Abbott here? He got bigger plans for his political career.
Yeah,
I'm just saying there's a
he trying to get that lobbyist money.
So
that long dream.
There's a pro-police argument that's also for gun restriction.
I wanted to talk a little bit about a little more about Uvalde. I don't know if you heard from the chief of police spoke up recently.
Oh yeah, what did he say?
No,
basically that he didn't. So a couple things. He was saying that he was defending the police response. Let me see if I can find it. What he was saying. he was saying that he was unable to break down the doors. Oh, he was saying a lot of things, really. So one thing he was saying, one thing, well, not very well. Well, one thing he was saying was that he didn't know that like when the kids are calling and asking what's calling, he didn't know because he left his radio in I don't know where he left it, but he didn't take it with him to the scene, I guess. From his point of view, he said he wanted to make sure that he was prepared, or that he couldn't. He thought he might drop his radio. It's just a bunch of things. It's like, yo, man, this is just looking awful. I mean, it's just it's looking
motherfuckers
awful.
Do not like accountability.
I mean, it just looks awful, man. The amount of time they're in there, and even this past week, like they had some hearings about from people in Buffalo and in Uvalde, and they had a little girl that spoke, and she was talking about how she had to hide and rub her friend's blood on her face. I'm like, wow.
Everybody's aware of this one, right? That with most of these mass shootings or whatever, the police, like by the time they actually get the person, it's because the person's done killing. Most of the time, that's why they end up committing suicide.
All right, in some cases, but this is a case where this is a case where this guy was shooting, and he was there for an extended period of time. Usually, these situations happen over, they're not over an extended period of time, unless the police got there in a reasonable amount of time, but they were waiting for, I don't know how long, and it seemed that it seems
pretty normal.
Hearing from this chief of police that there was confusion. So it looks, you look at a situation like that, and it's like a situation where there was no leadership. There was no one to say, "Hey, look, there's a guy in the room. We got to figure out what to do with them, or at least set up a plan." They had no plan. They were just waiting. And those kids were like sitting ducks. And maybe he shot everybody who's going to shoot before then. But even if he didn't,
they should have been police officers in Texas because of the police officer death rate. No, I'm joking.
It's
okay.
just awful.
It's also indicative of how they actually respond. Remember, a lot of their training is based on this idea of you got to keep your officer safe, alive, and be proactive. Unfortunately, that also means them being way too defensive and not being proactive.
Well,
enough.
What you described is a beforehand situation when you got to have contingency plans when you in it, and what do you do in that situation? Be proactive. Like you're not you're in a past active state.
Pause. Yo, you remember the shooting that happened in Brantford? There was an active shooter in Brantford a couple of months ago. Sorry, this is last year.
Yeah, I remember that.
They cornered that guy. They've cornered, locked him off. They didn't run in and just shoot the person down.
So, but okay, here's what I'm saying. How many
cops? But he wasn't in a classroom. He wasn't in a classroom. No, he was in a classroom with kids shooting kids.
With kids.
You're right.
That makes a big difference. And how many cops were there? How many cops were there?
All of them.
How many cops were there?
All of them.
How many cops? I mean, I'm
They
not
actually pulled in
not
cops
Brantford.
from surrounding
Uvalde.
areas as well.
Uvalde were 19 cops. 19 cops. I can see if it's a a 2-cop town and it's a suspect that has armor and all these guns.
Wasn't the joke that they spend like $2 million on the police budget? Like they just spend a fuck ton of money on their budget.
Aaron, you're probably too young to remember this. I want to see if you remember this.
My age.
No.
Go ahead, Rod.
It's a good thing, man.
It's just a fact.
Fuck, it isn't.
No, it's just a fact. Mid 80s, late 80s, the guy, it was in downtown Los Angeles with the assault rifle and the armor that had
the guy robbing the bank. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that was
Yo,
I was just reading something about them.
That was the case that scared every police department to become militarized. This can't happen to us.
Here's what I'm saying. That I understand. Those guys had multiple weapons. They had armor. They I get that.
That was like watching a movie. That was crazy.
But in this case, you just the plain optics of it. 19 cops, one suspect, multiple kids in a classroom. They let him sit there for 40 minutes.
I don't know if the police officers there had warrior style training, but a large portion of it is protect yourself first.
Protect yourself. What about the kids?
No. What's the motto?
What about the kids in there?
No. What's the motto? It's not protect yourself.
Protect and serve.
Yeah, protect yourself.
Rod, you know this. I know we talked about this, but that is just a motto. That's not an actual way they work. The police are under no obligation to do any of that shit. It is a motto. It's not true. It is FUBAR, scuttlebutt. It's Meckledorf. It's some bullshit.
Nope. If you put it on the side, of your police car, it's a mission statement.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's a mission statement. It's a mission statement.
Pause. We're all on the same page about this. We know about this, right? This went to the Supreme Court with one of the situations in New York. There was an officer on a subway car during the situation where somebody was about to stab someone. I believe they actually did stab someone, and the cop did fuck all about it. He gets charged. Case goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says he was under no obligation to actually protect and serve or do anything.
There's a recent case. A guy drowned.
This case
he climbed over a barrier.
I sent
drowned.
You just sent some random thing. I'm talking about a particular incident.
Page
to let us know that it actually happened. I researched it and then I posted the link, I think.
Anyhow,
I gave you the idea, motherfucker.
My point is that
about the same
so does that mean so what do you think the Strapped Nose Police are? They protected themselves. The ones that didn't say that guy. What do you think happens to those?
Yeah, because they told him you're gonna have to swim. I'm not jumping in there.
Yeah, I'm not jumping in there.
I want to say I'm fine with debating this one. I think this is worth debating. I kind of feel as if this situation's a little bit different. This is a situation. Person puts himself in danger. We do not know if the police actually know how to swim, and they were making calls to have Coast Guard come by and scoop the person up. How much are they in an obligation to try to save?
About swimming? What if they rapped about? I'm joking.
This would be a very different story from them pushing the person down and killing them.
I really, to me, it seems like they were sure.
By the way, I'm going to send you a very long list of all the examples of drill rappers admitting, literally saying they did it and then getting tied to the crime.
We are not going to discuss this tonight. This is going to go way too long. We're not discussing this tonight.
Fine by me.
We are not discussing it tonight because it's going way too impassioned and way too long. Here's what I'm saying. It to me, him saying that you got to swim for yourself, that says a lot right there. That to me says a lot right there. If a guy's
kind of also goes in the situation where if somebody's choking, do you actually have to go and resuscitate them? Who's at fault if you're in a room full of people, someone's choking? Who's at fault?
No one's at fault. The guy he's choking. There's no fault in that.
You mean if the guy? River.
No, it depends. It depends. No, it depends on who you are and as a professional. If there's a doctor in the room, the doctor's obligated to do something.
Right.
by their ethics. They
And-
are, because
and-
when doctors
Are
no,
officers under an obligation.
you know,
like
no,
that?
no,
I feel
they
like
they
Yes,
are.
Hippocratic
That's how
oath.
come.
they
Like
are not.
because
Hippocratic oath. Yeah, they are.
no. Aaron, when a doctor gets on a plane, doctors who drink alcohol, they usually have a few drinks just in case something happens. They can say, "I've had a few drinks," and then I can't deliver stuff because they don't want to be sued if something doesn't go right, and they attempt to provide medical care to somebody that has an issue on a plane. My best friend is a doctor, and he throws them back early.
Wow, man. You just get the plane and start drinking? Jeez.
No, so that
Um,
if something happens, like is there a doctor? You're obligated to do something, and then if it doesn't go right, then you can
But they
like there's
can't.
a
So,
yeah
but
they can.
from what I
Do you
got,
want to
like,
they
discuss
can.
when
like say you go to a restaurant, someone is choking, and you try a Heimlich maneuver, and you break their ribs, say, or
you do.
they
You break
can't
the
sue
ribs
you.
no matter what.
But let's say that you or say he died, you don't do it right, and they choke to death. Their family cannot sue you because you made a good faith
Yeah.
attempt to save that person.
Yeah.
I
No,
believe
they can sue you. It doesn't mean that the case like you will have to they can sue you. You can sue anybody for anything.
Very
They
true.
probably won't win, but they can sue you. So him taking a drink saves him. Like, no, I can't. I had a few drinks. I don't have the capacity to do it. He doesn't put himself in that legal situation.
But though, that's kind of crazy though. Think about it. Let's say somebody's choking and they really need help. Does he not help? Because I've had a couple drinks.
Yeah. Because if you had a few
So-
drinks and
so,
you do
okay.
something wrong, then you are liable. You understand?
I get it, but I don't know.
No, it's just how the law works.
That would eat my
Librarian,
conscience.
I
That would
I
eat my
actually
conscience
found this
up.
out recently. It would eat
No,
my
as
conscience
much
up
stuff.
too.
No.
Anyone dies in front of
As
me,
much
that's
legal
bother
stuff
me.
as doctors go through just doing their normal job and being sued for
Yeah, I
like
guess you
giving care.
malpractice or what have
Like
you.
why well, I'm on a flight, I'm not even in that capacity, and then I'm gonna open myself up for this legal stuff.
That's kind of what kind of bothered me about the situation with the person drowning. This kind of sets up a situation. Somebody dies around the cop, and the cop, if you can, after the fact, say, you could have did this, you could have did that. Why didn't you do that? That would open the cops up to a fuck ton of lawsuits in any situation.
But they would in that case, it would have been a lawsuit. If he tried to save the
Yes, but I'm
guy,
saying, would this apply to other situations or just specifically drowning? Let's say cops
What?
at a restaurant, someone chokes. You could have helped him. You have all this training. You should have helped him. Lawsuits are open now in any
When was that? That was last summer. Last summer, somebody going home from work, traffic's backed up, get to the Sikorsky Bridge and see a bunch of cars and medical stuff. Somebody jumped off the Sikorsky Bridge. They called in the rescue units. They sent boats out. I think an officer went in to the place. What was it? I forgot. The exit, got off the Shelton exit and went in and got the person. So they do. I mean, it's an individual choice.
That reminds me.
Huh?
Hold on. There's a case that I remember looking up when it came out. I don't remember what happened to it. There was a West Virginia police officer gets a domestic violence call. The person says they're armed. The guy, because he has military training, is like, oh, this is supposed to be suicide by cop. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to de-escalate the situation. Turns out he was right. Before I say anything else, the person had a gun that was unarmed. The officer didn't know this. The other two officers walking up didn't know this. When the other two officers walk up and see the situation, person holding gun close to cop, they just shoot the person to kill them on the spot. This officer, last name like Massey or Madden or whatever, he later gets fired because he didn't properly assess the threat and put the other two cops in danger. I know there was
I remember that case. I know the case you're talking about.
Case. Didn't they win the ACLU's case?
I don't know. I can't remember the name, but they had the body cam footage.
I feel like the name was Massey. No, Thomas Massey. Fuck that guy. He's a U.S. representative. He's a piece of work. I'll put it like that. I'm guessing because they won the lawsuit. I don't know how far it went or if their town is appealing it. It was a situation where you can't compel someone to shoot somebody else. Because then it sets up that weird situation, because that would mean in every situation, cops have to be extra trigger happy rather than using their own judgment. The judgment route allows to a certain level of wiggle room. Constant compelling cops to shoot and shoot often is going to lead to problems.
Oh man, I'm reading more about.
Welcome to ethics.
I'm reading more about the police chief in Uvalde, and he was saying that he I guess he's behind the cops are there behind the locked door, and he asked them to bring him a keys and tactical gear and sniper and keys to get inside. They brought the keys. When the keys arrived, none of them worked. There's 40 keys. It was like dozens of keys didn't work. You just look at the whole situation, man. It's like how could this go this wrong? You know?
No, that makes sense because the people that have the keys that can unlock the doors are typically the principal and the custodial staff. And if they were sheltering wherever they were at, the cops would have to sweep through the whole school and find that person.
Right. What I'm saying is that the combination of things that went wrong in this scenario, you know what I mean? It's like you're almost thinking like the Keystone Cops almost. It's like all those cops there, and they couldn't go in the room. They'd get the keys, what you call it. The radio, people with communications are wrong. If Lucas calling 911 and the cops not even knowing that he called. The chief didn't have his radio.
Like,
what the hell, man? You know, it's like.
So Todd, it sounds like the lawsuit that they would be facing is, given the situation or any other cop acting in a similar situation, what efforts did they take? What did they try to do? How, if you can make the argument that another cop or another police chief in a similar situation would have handled it better, and that would be the standard. If this guy was all fucking prostitutes or drinking on the job or some shit, instant fired. Total criminal violation. Can you remind me again, what efforts did this homeboy actually fucking do? What did he actually attempt to do?
Good question. I don't know. It doesn't sound like he did much. He
I know the fact that he keeps
tried to open the door.
That.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you as you learn about more situations, like it looks worse and worse. It's like one thing to be like we were outside and we were communicating. We didn't know what and we were at a standstill.
No,
it was, but you hear him saying we didn't know what was going on. One person's pointing this way, pointing the other person, and we don't know. It's like Keystone Cops, and like and it to me.
No, but like they're out in West Texas. It's like we assume. I think people project like experiences close to where they are, because if something like that happened out here, we know that cops have the solid metal thing that they use to bust down doors. They probably don't have that in that department. That's not.
Just got like $1 million, more so than that, in terms of funding. They have equipment.
Well, them getting funding and them purchasing that equipment, they're going to spend the funding based on.
If you give me a second, I can figure out exactly how much equipment they got.
All right, if that were the case, and they came out and said, "Look, we're a small police department. We only have 2 officers. We only got a few officers there." Okay, I get it. You were overmatched. The situation was more than you can handle. Okay, but you hear it. They had 19 cops there. 19, and just the optics of it.
City of 16,000, $4 million budget. 40% of the town's budget actually goes to the police.
And how many cops actually work in that city? Because you got to do salaries, you got to do benefits and equipment training. And I'm not talking about specialized equipment. Like that 4 million can be eaten up quickly.
Yeah, that's less than how much.
To be fair, agreed. I keep realizing like $1 million isn't as much money as I always thought it was, especially when you're breaking it up as people over a period of time.
And depending on the size of the department, I don't know if you've seen $4
million a year, by the way, annual.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you've seen. I know you worked in a school in the past. I don't know if you've seen your school budget, and when you see the allocation that it takes just to pay like teaching staff and the benefits and all of that stuff, that eats up a significant portion of the budget.
You know, again,
Which
I
is
hear what you're
fucked up
saying.
because, like they're already not paid much.
But you
I'm
hear,
just look at the budget, this, and you'll be astonished at how much goes.
but you just hear
for staff.
he's in work. Guy, the chief police didn't have his radio. It's just so many things that would go that went wrong. You know what I mean? It's like it sounds like they were overmatched, and it's like, but for one suspect,
Not overmatched, unprepared.
Yeah, excuse me.
I agree with Ron.
Unprepared. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Unprepared. It's just sad, man. It's just really sad. Anyhow. Let's just move on to that. Hey, anybody nobody got that monkeypox?
Whatever.
Are there any
What the hell is
monkeypox
that?
cases in Mississippi?
I don't know. If they are,
I should
still
really find out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like all
That's
I've been doing lately
that's
is
just the
calling to make
next
sure people are okay.
thing to promote fear and hysteria. You got to
Yeah,
keep people scared at all times for something.
Yeah,
You don't sound like
Yes,
Rod
people done
right
got
now.
tired of COVID. People don't care. Yeah, you can come cough in my face if you got COVID. I don't care. I'm over it.
Just don't
That's
touch me.
where
Don't give me
people
no
at.
monkeypox.
I've gotten a little lax
Don't give me no
myself. to be honest.
monkeypox. Don't give me no monkeypox.
I don't even know what the fuck it is.
Well, you need to stop passing fluids with people that you're real close to avoid the monkeypox. It
Let's
ain't
just say that's
airborne
not a
like
problem.
COVID. You just
Yeah.
can't walk in the
Okay,
room
thank God there's none in Mississippi.
that you're aware of. That's been documented.
I know.
Don't ruin it. I'll tell you
Unless
how
you were slobbing somebody down with monkeypox, then you need to be
Oh
worried.
God, I
Doing
wish I was
something.
worried about myself.
Have you seen the
Nah.
images like what it looks like?
Yes. They.
Yeah, it looks really.
I'll
gnarly.
tell you guys off stream.
Really
I
gnarly.
had sex with someone who had leprosy, like a lot of leprosy. As it was hitting it, one of their arms fell off. It's terrible. I stuck it back in though.
You stuck it
Makes
back.
I had her give
You
me
just
a
put it
reach
back
around.
on. You just.
Yeah. She needed her arm for that.
You're a funny guy. You're a funny guy, man.
The problem is I
You're a
forgot what a
funny
reach
guy.
around was. That was the problem.
I think
You
You know
hear
what?
these random sex terms, you're like, what the fuck is that?
reach around. You I think we lost Les.
Yeah, somewhere along
Yeah.
the way
I
We
muted
wanted
him
more,
because he's
but we got
snoring. I was
less.
like, geez, man.
Less tired.
I know, like, wow, man.
That
It was-
motherfucker got a job.
I know, man. Something like us. We're just
No, I almost didn't make it. I was falling out. I was in and out watching the boys.
But
Your
anyhow, man.
children are what?
The
Amazon Prime or whatever.
Amazon.
Your children are in the Amazon?
What?
Ologist, you gotta get out there. Save them.
No, they'll be
Yeah.
all right.
All right, fellas. Let's call it a day. I wanna we can
All right.
continue offline for a little bit, but I'm
Okay.
gonna stop the stream. So
I'll tell you about the fantastic reach around rim job. I don't know what any of these terms mean. I forgot what a rim job is.